Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is a game famous for its accurate replication of the tone and spirit of the original Dragon Ball Z anime through its usage of Shunsuke Kikuchi's original music along with other tracks from the anime, the liveliness of its free-roaming sections, and the overall artistic direction of the characters and the world around them. Regardless of what your thoughts are on the gameplay mechanics or the overall gameplay style of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, there's no argument that this game did a fantastic job at making you feel like you were part of the Dragon Ball world by stockpiling this game to the brim with content and references to the original anime that both diehard and casual fans can appreciate. But what if Dragon Ball Z Kakarot had taken a different visual approach? What if instead of trying to capture the heart and soul of the Dragon Ball Z anime, it tried to replicate the tone of the original Dragon Ball manga created by Akira Toriyama? Well, the other day an article about this very idea was written on cgworld.jp, and I just wanted to quickly read through it with you guys and give my thoughts on what could have been for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Of course, since this article was written in Japanese, I'm gonna have to use Google Translate so I can read it in English, so if the sentences sound a bit off, that might be why. So if you want to check out the article for yourself, the link will be down in the description below. I'm not going to read through the entirety of the article, or else you guys could probably just skip this video and go read the article for yourself. I'm just going to touch on a few key things that I find in each paragraph, and I'm going to just give my thoughts on those certain segments. In this first section, it says it was very difficult to create something that would be comfortable for all generations by dealing with the big title of Dragon Ball. Goku was strong from the beginning, so how to reduce the game ability as an RPG, Goku's growth I always thought about how to represent. Although there was a lot of material, I did some automation, but there was still room for incorporating mechanisms and flows for efficient production. It's a challenge for the creators to focus on production, said Kazuki Kimoto, project leader. Now, while this first section focuses primarily on CyberConnect 2 and how they initially began to develop Dragon Ball Z Kakarot instead of their visual approach, I just wanted to touch on this by saying I felt progression was handled very well within the game. RPGs are not my go-to gaming experiences, so I'm not as well in-tuned on how they are produced or what guidelines they must follow. However, the leveling system shown in Kakarot and how certain techniques and character skills were unlocked as time went on, alongside enemy characters leveling alongside you, I felt as though that was handled appropriately. The inclusion of Z-orbs and their importance in upgrading both characters and their techniques made world exploration feel like a necessity and rewarded you for taking the time to collect them. I just wanted to mention that real quick, so now let's move on to the main focus of this video and the main focus of this article, which is pre-production. At first glance, we aim to realize the contradictory vectors by combining characters, cinematics, effects, and backgrounds. The first section is titled Verification of Coloring, and it says, early in development when aiming to create an image with good manga touch, he pursued the original author, Akira Toriyama's design, including how to paint color manuscripts, the graininess of paper, and the bleeding that can occur during overpainting. However, when I actually moved it, the amount of information on the near and distant views did not work as a game, and because the rough expression is screen space, even if the screen is moving, it does not move according to the behavior, and it seems that the discomfort was large. Ultimately, the shift from manga-style painting to visuals that combine the best of the original anime resulted in the creation of this graphic. We struggled with the fusion of visual concept and gameplay. The goal was to create a positive worldview that would expand the memories of the people who played the game. So, basing my thoughts around these first 4 pictures and this statement, it seemed as though the original intent for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot was to follow the overall style of Akira Toriyama's manga with its palette of colors and the bold, thick lines seen in pieces of the world and within the character models themselves. From what I can understand, it seemed as though draw distance wasn't coordinating correctly with this art style though, making gameplay feel awkward due to the interference from the background. Considering the majority of this game focuses on exploring the world around you, I can see why it was scrapped in favor of a style that allows for better draw distancing. I think this manga aesthetic is beautiful, and I would have personally loved to see it, but I understand why they decided to scrap it. For an open world game such as this, I would rather pick better gameplay over better visual appeal. The next section is titled Initially Produced Prototype Video, and it says, at the time of pre-pro, a video was created with the concept of a game where you can fully experience the transcendental power of Goku, which everyone longs for, to make it easier to imagine the game. Although it was produced in a short period of 1 month, the image of the elements that you want to take care of, such as a lively battle that can blow off enemies in a large space and fight, gaming using the field, change and destruction of the field can be shared. My main thoughts on this section is less so about that description and is more so about those images of both Goku and Vegeta flying and using energy attacks. As much as I love how explosions turned out in the full game due to their accuracy in the anime, I love the blur effect shown off in these images, and I think they mix well with the manga stylization of the character models. When it comes to the energy attacks, I think the ones shown off in these images look great, but I have to say I much prefer how they turned out in the full game. After that, we move on to the character model section, and it says, by fusing the original manga and the visuals of the TV series Dragon Ball Z, a new visual unique to this title is realized. At the same time, a workflow was built to efficiently manage the total number of characters and variations. And judging off of these images showing off both Goku and Bulma, you can tell how detailed the full game looks thanks to its shading, giving off the feeling of the anime palette. However, if you take away the shading, the character models don't look nearly as good, and I think that's why the game runs so smoothly. If the game were to take the visual approach of the manga, shading would be less represented and the concept of bold lines would take center stage, possibly making for more detailed models, and that's why the game didn't run as well as they would have intended, because it was focusing on the character models as opposed to the world around them. I'm no game design expert, but judging off of this translated article, it seems as though they decided to back off of the detailed manga aesthetics they originally set out for, and settled on simpler models that relied on shading to give off the effect of the anime so the game could run smoother. Personally, I would have been happy with either visual approach Kakarot would have taken, as I love how the full game looks. Sure, it's no Dragon Ball FighterZ in terms of anime accuracy, but considering DBZ Kakarot is an open world game as opposed to a more condensed fighting game, I think it pulled off the anime aesthetic quite nicely. Would I have loved seeing the manga aesthetic? Of course, I think that would have given more uniqueness to the game, as not many Dragon Ball titles follow the manga in terms of visual approach. However, I can see why it was scrapped, as the open world style this game follows wouldn't have allowed the game to be as polished as it turned out to be. Hopefully one day we can get to the point where draw distance isn't an issue and we can see an open world manga stylized Dragon Ball game, but for now I feel as though the manga visualization fits best in smaller and more condensed games. Speaking of which, seeing these screenshots of Kakarot's pre-production reminded me of another game that actually pulled off the manga visualization. If you're upset that Dragon Ball Z Kakarot didn't incorporate an art style reminiscent of the manga, I highly recommend you check out the game Super Dragon Ball Z. It's a combo-oriented fighting game similar to FighterZ, but instead of following the visual style of the anime, Super Dragon Ball Z uses cel shading to replicate the bold style of the manga, and instead of being a 2D fighter, it's kinda like a 2.5D fighter. It's definitely one of the more overlooked Dragon Ball games, and even though I'm not the best at combo-oriented fighting games, Super Dragon Ball Z is really fun due to its arcade game style, its music, its overall replayability, and of course, its visual approach replicating the manga. If you have a PlayStation 2, I highly recommend looking this game up if you're a fan of Dragon Ball, particularly its manga counterpart, a fan of fighting games, or a fan of arcade-styled games. It's easily one of my more obscure favorites in a long list of Dragon Ball games, and the best part is, because it uses cel shading to follow the tones of the manga, it still looks fantastic even to this day. But there we have it everyone, this was just a quick little discussion video focusing on Dragon Ball Z Kakarot and what it could have been, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Which visual style would you have preferred? Would you have liked the game to look like the manga, or are you happy that the game looks more like the anime? Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. For those of you who have been watching my walkthrough of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, don't worry, more parts are still coming out. I've just been taking a break from uploading more parts, but keep your eyes peeled for when I continue that gameplay series. As for now, thank you all so much for watching this video, and if you want me to do more videos like this, where I read more Dragon Ball articles and give my thoughts, let me know down in the comments and send me some articles. I'd be down for informative articles such as this, or I'd even be down to debunk articles with terrible Dragon Ball information. But until then, thank you all for watching, make sure you all subscribe to this channel for more Dragon Ball content, and give this video a thumbs up. I appreciate any and all support. As always, I'll be seeing all of you in my next video, so see you guys later.